Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Michelle Van Horlbeck, and I am the Director of Customer Success here at AMI. And just want to welcome you to our 2024 User Summit. And super excited to be able to share with you today some different aspects of hardware asset management. So let's get to it so that we can get to the nitty gritty and the things that you guys all want to hear. So we'll kick off this meeting by just talking a little bit about some housekeeping. So the meeting's recorded, just so for your awareness. Mics and cameras will be muted with exception of the speakers. We want you to ask questions. We have some Q&A time reserved at the end of the session. So, but we don't want you to forget about what your questions are throughout the presentation. So when you're ready, when you have a question, click the Q&A button at the top, submit your question, and we'll see it so that we can address it at the end during the Q&A. And last but certainly not least, we have a couple of poll questions. They're quick, they're fun. They'll pop up on your screen with the question and the available answers. Pick your answers. It takes a couple seconds. We really appreciate your participation in that. It really helps us. And next is, what are we going to talk about today? So I'm going to kick it off with a little bitty intro about some market research that we did here at AMI earlier this year. Next, we will have a customer spotlight where we have 3 different customers going to share some success stories. And I think that's going to be really interesting for all of you. Next, we will do demos, a couple new feature demos, which I know is always something that people want to see. What's new? What are other people doing? We will get a look into the future. We're going to talk a little bit about our 2025 roadmap and also a little bit beyond. We have Tom, our CEO, on today, who's going to talk about, like I said, not just next year, but what does it look like in the further years out, 2026, 27. And then, of course, as mentioned, we will be wrapping up with a Q&A session. So let's get to the first poll question. What part of the User Summit is most important to you? Courtney, are we getting responses?
We are. You'll be able to see in the chat some of the responses too.
Oh, cool. And maybe just for me, I'm a little curious because I'm sharing my screen. What are we looking at? What are people saying?
Looks like 66% are looking forward to the AssetTrack new feature demo.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much, Courtney. That just helps us out, helps us with what we do today, and then of course user summits in the future. So thank you guys, all of you who responded. So I'll go ahead and kick off and talk, just like I said, just for a short amount of time about this market research that we did. So earlier this year, we wanted to go out and we were interested in trying to figure out what's going on in the ham space today, right? We've been doing this for a long time, over 20 years, but things change, right? So what's going on out there? What should we know? What pain points are organizations out there having as far as ham? What kind of solutions are they looking for? And in those solutions, what are the top features that are most important to them, right? So with that, the pain points that bubbled to the top, as you can see on the slide, efficiency. So how can people reduce manual effort? How can we automate, make things faster and easier so that our associates can be working on more meaningful activities and meaningful tasks during the day, rather than working in spreadsheets and running around with paper and running like chickens with their heads cut off, trying to find assets because they don't know where they are. Simplicity. How can we avoid overly complex processes and workflows, right? Because if our processes are overly complex, it could lead to a lack of adoption, and lack of adoption then leads to inaccurate data, right? If they're not following the process and making the changes they need to the assets, then you really don't have a clue where your assets are, right? And then, of course, from an ROI perspective, how can we show measurably what value we're providing to an organization, right? What kind of cost savings are we providing? What kind of, are we reducing waste? Are we minimizing security risks? You know, how can we do that? The next thing is reliability and compliance. So, do we have data that we can rely on? Can we trust that our assets are where our database says they are? Do I need software that will allow me to track assets from all the way from procurement to disposal? So that I do know where my assets are, because knowing where your assets are is key, right? Making sure that we're meeting regulatory standards. All of our organizations, depending on the type, have different types of regulations that we have to comply with, right? And also being prepared and confident when you get that knock on your door that says, okay, I'm here from audit and I want you to show me that you know where all your assets are, right? And just making sure that they have processes and tools in place to allow them to be prepared for those times. And then end of life and sustainability management, right? How can I determine and anticipate my hardware when it gets to end of life? How can I budget for that, right? And how can I reduce my carbon footprint? So, to go along with those pain points and challenges, the top capabilities that people seem to be looking for, which are not shocking: lifecycle management, managing your asset through that life cycle, checking it out or deploying it, reclaiming it, putting it back in the stock room, all the way to retirement and disposition. And then, of course, inventory or audit. That's where you guys are validating that all that life cycle that you're doing is, and that your assets are actually where we think they are based on all the activity that we've been doing through the life cycle process. Hardware refresh forecasting, like I said, it's okay. Let's take a look. It's budget time. Let's take a look at 2025. How many assets do we need to refresh next year? What is that going to cost us? Let's make sure we account for it in our budget. And how can we identify what those assets are and who has them, right? And then reuse, the reuse of assets that impacts cost and carbon footprint. So if we know where our assets are at, then we can redeploy existing assets rather than buying new each time, which is going to reduce cost, but it also reduces that carbon footprint as well. So all these things that I touched on in this particular slide, you're going to hear something related to all of these things at some point in this deck today. So let's just go ahead and move on to the next section. So the next section is customer spotlight. And this customer spotlight to me is really important because we talk to people all the time, and we are always constantly hearing, what are your other customers doing? What are they doing that we should be doing or that we don't even know we should be doing, right? So today we have 3 unique speakers from 3 different organizations that are talking about 3 totally different features of AssetTrack and their experience with these different features. So we're going to start with Roger Bailey. Thank you, Roger, for joining today. Roger comes to us from Truist Bank, where they have about 40,000 employees managing about 270,000 assets across 2,800 locations. So pretty big program.
Roger, can you unmute yourself and put your camera on for me? Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Roger, again for joining. So we're going to talk about RFID and AssetTrack. So where were audits and what did they look like before you guys implemented RFID and AssetTrack?
So quite a bit ago, when we were under our heritage organization, and we actually joined AssetTrack, we went probably about 3 years of using AssetTrack before we actually went into the RFID process. Our audits were we were scanning barcodes, but we had to import them into a spreadsheet, then take that spreadsheet and then compare that spreadsheet against our database. It was a week and a half long process, depending on our other activities, and depending on how well our scanners at the time were working. Because at the time we were not using AssetTrack scanners at all for that process, because they weren't able to kind of fulfill the needs that we had at the time. So yeah, it was rough. Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah, it sounds like it was a little bit tough, a little bit labor, maybe a lot labor intensive,
It
right?
was.
And decisions
Mhm.
probably had to be made about, do I do my day job? Do I do audit? Do I work 24 hours to get both done? And
Right.
that's tough. That's an issue that I think a lot of our customers in different organizations are up against, right? So you
Yeah.
guys implemented RFID and AssetTrack together. What does that look like now?
Very much improved. Typically our audits take, the actual physical audit takes about a day and a half, due to the number of
Wow.
assets that we're scanning within our data centers. But then once that's done, it's uploaded to our system. It's instantaneous. We know what we've missed, what we need to go back and reconcile out. And typically we finish our audit within 3 or 4 days under the RFID process.
Oh, start to finish, right? So
Yep.
that's incredible. And I'm happy to hear that this success story, happy to hear that you're not having to spend so much time working extra hours or dropping your day job to do audits, because we know that how important audits are. Thank you so much, Roger, for being willing to talk about your story today. I really appreciate it. We really appreciate it. And
Yep.
we're going to
Thank
move
y'all.
on to the next speaker. Thank you, Roger. So our next speaker, Christine No, she comes to us from Schools First Federal Credit Union. Hi, Christine. Thank you for joining us. All right, and Schools First has about 2,800 employees. They track about 33,000 assets across about 79 locations. So we're going to talk, Christine, a little bit about self-certification. So self-certification, managing and figuring out where and tracking assets that are somewhere remote and not in a place where you have boots on the ground, somebody who can run over and scan things, right? So how did you guys manage remote assets before you implemented AssetTrack self-certification?
I would say before the implementation of self-cert, it was a cumbersome way and time-consuming process because we relied heavily on like manual tracking methods. But it really started during the pandemic, and I'm sure the stories are the same where you had you sending IT equipment out with employees, they're taking it home, and we needed to figure out how can we get that data, right? It's either reaching out via emails, creating tickets and, compiling it in a spreadsheet or even, in your ServiceNow asset database. But when we approached AMI with, a looking for a resolution, you brought to us self-certification. We're like, hey, this is going to work, right? So we worked with you guys. We custom built it to where it fit our needs, and then we released it. And then from there, we were able to get the results. And it's been great because it's reduced, administrative overhead, it's enhanced accuracy, and it just increased accountability as well. So I would say it's a great module that we're using as of today.
That's awesome. And that's the thing. I always say the bottom line is people need to know where their assets are at to make good decisions. And you're right. COVID and the pandemic really, really changed everything. I remember bringing all my stuff home and thinking I was going back to the office in 2 weeks. And a year and a half later, I was still working from home. So, yeah, it changed things, and we had to just in general, asset managers and teams, and even us at AMI had to figure out how to pivot and how to accommodate for and solution some of these issues, right? How do we figure out where these things are at? Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Are you guys also using self-certification in maybe a little bit more of a non-traditional way for offboarding or something?
We are. So we do self-certification annually, but we also worked with the AMI team to customize another type of form, which is also self-cert, so that we can do termination assessments. So now what's going on is anytime there's a termination, HR will send out a link for the self-cert, and then the managers will be able to attest whether or not they want to keep the particular equipment for, a future employee, or have IT come and collect. So we're basically using it as an attestation for any type of term employees to be able to collect their IT equipment and just be able to hold the departments accountable as well.
Yeah, that's great because oftentimes companies really put heavy focus on onboarding, and they're not as good at offboarding. So things walk out the door that we don't know about, or we just don't have as much control in place. So really happy to hear that you guys found a unique way and another way to make self-certification work for you and help you guys at Schools First. Christine, thank you so much for joining us today and being willing to share your story. We really appreciate it. All right, I'm going to move on to our third and final customer speaker, Jennifer Courtney. Thank you so much for joining us from Cascade Asset Management. Cascade is a little bit different. They provide ITAD services, and they do so for about 320 organizations across about 42 unique states. They've been in business, as you can see, for about 25 years and have lots of really important certifications. So thank you, Jennifer, for joining us today. I really appreciate it. We're going to talk a little bit about ITAD. So what were your ITAD processes like before you guys at Cascade started using AssetTrack?
Sure. So thank you first and for everyone for joining us today. So with the client that we have that utilizes the AssetTrack, the client would reach out to me for a pickup. Then the client would create a XLS spreadsheet with make, model, serial number, asset tag, everything, all the information of the devices, and then share it with me prior to the pickup. We would then take that list and populate the data into our Cascade validation template, copying and pasting all the data from our client into the spreadsheet. And so sometimes this list didn't come to me in a timely manner. The site contact knew that they would get in another shipment the day that we needed that information to prepare. So many times we were at the mercy of the timing of the site contact, getting all those details to our chief contact to then send to me. So this time crunch would really result in trying to create the validation spreadsheets quickly, which inevitably would create accuracy errors. Not always, but they happen. So sometimes the person within Cascade who creates the validation sheet, before I got trained how to do that, would be on vacation or just simply unable at the time to assist us in last second preparation of our validation sheet. And so that would cause just a great deal of stress. And so it is quite cumbersome. I was nodding my head as Christine was talking. It's quite cumbersome, to create these validation sheets. And so when the field technicians would arrive on site, they'd have to scan each validation sheet, dragging their laptops and scanners around the site to each asset. And sometimes those serial numbers were just incorrectly inputted into the system, which affected quality and accuracy. And then validating to both the asset tag and the serial number just took quite a bit of on-site time. And then if an asset couldn't be found or didn't validate, a search would then ensue to find the missing or corrected asset information. So it was quite a cumbersome project.
Yeah, that sounds really stressful. Like lots of last minute, running around changes. And like you said, anytime that happens, we try to be perfect, but we're humans, and it is what it is. And when you're under stress like that, that's when mistakes happen. And like you said, leads to inaccuracies. So you guys, in tandem with your customer, implemented AssetTrack. What does that look like now? And what kind of efficiencies are you guys seeing on your end?
Um, Several things. Definitely a reduction in on-site time. The streamlined scanning and tracking process reduces the manual effort compared to the previous system. The workflow overall is way more intuitive. It also has clear steps that are easy to follow. No longer have to create the validation forms, so we don't have to worry about it, which is fantastic. Yes, our site contact simply loads in all the details to the chief contact, and then all I have to do is supply a job number. And then whenever we get there, it's amazing because we have tones now that are pleasant if it validates and unpleasant if it does not. And so our guys can simply start the program, start scanning all of the assets. You hear a very pleasant tone, you know that you can keep going. And so they don't have to drag their laptops around anymore to gather any of the information. They can just scan, scan, scan. So scanning is noticeably easier, more reliable, which helps us to complete the tasks faster. And it's much easier to identify assets that aren't validating in the system. With the filtering and sorting tools, it's a significant improvement. I can tell you, I was on site with our client during a pickup utilizing AssetTrack, and there were a couple of assets that we couldn't locate. And so the team was super quick to ascertain that the items were not located with the rest of the assets being scanned into the system. So it made that really fast. And then reconciliation is easier to do on the back end once the asset completion, collection has been completed. So it was a really relatively smooth transition for us. There were learning curves at first, but implementing AssetTrack, our clients have enjoyed a reduction in 40.73% in labor cost on site and a 41.28% in time needed per site.
Sandra.
So that was amazing. We're quite happy. And as a personal example, even this week we had a surprise pickup, and so the client called me and said, "Hey, we need a pickup on Thursday." And I was like, "Oh goodness, okay." And so typically we are picking up on average 124 assets per time, and this time it was like 300 plus. And I was just thinking to myself, thank God I do not have to create this validation sheet on the fly, because all I had to do was send the job number and boom, we were ready to go.
Oh, Jennifer, wow, that's incredible. Huge efficiencies seen on your end and the customer's end for sure. And I saw Joe with the heart, throwing up the heart there. And I know they significantly appreciate it as well. Um, so happy that we were able to be that solution for you guys and that it's working so well for you and your customer. Thank you again for taking the time out of your day to meet with us and to share this story with us. And thank all of our presenters today from the Customer Spotlight for being willing to just put yourself out there and let people know what you guys are doing in case it might be able to help them as well. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, and thanks to our client.
Oh, yeah, of course, of course. All right. Well, remember that poll question that you guys answered at the beginning. Everybody wants to see new feature demos, right? This is the hot topic. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Jeff Abate, the Director of Service Operations here at AMI. Jeff, take it away.
Okay. Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that and I'm not sharing anything yet. It's intentional. I want to talk first before I start doing the demo. I want you to think about what I'm saying as opposed to look at it yet. So we're going to start with that. But first off, many of you already know me, but for those of you who don't, I'm Jeff Abate, like Michelle said, Director of Service Ops. But my job primarily here is to oversee implementations, make sure that the projects are going well, you're getting the solutions you need. I help design those solutions, and I always keep my pulse on what's important to you guys. So the demo that I'm going to do today, the roadmap for next year, it's all about what I'm learning from you guys. So Yeah, that's where I'm at. Today, I'm going to explain, then I'm going to demonstrate how the self-certification version 2 works, show you some reports that are going to be included in the next iteration of the AssetTrack dashboard, and I'll talk to you about the AssetTrack for ServiceNow 2025 roadmap before I hand it off to Tom. But I'm going to start with the self-certification demo, but I want to talk about it first. So I want to point out the improvements that we've made from V1 to V2. The first improvement we made was we moved self-certification audits, and this might be a little techie for you guys, and I apologize for that, but I promise I'll explain to you why I'm telling you these things as I go. The first improvement we made is that the self-certification audits are now a part of our advanced audit solution. And what that means for you and your customers is that the audit results are being populated on the audited asset table in real time. So if a self-auditor needs to start their audit, step away, go to lunch, come back, do some research on why this asset is assigned to them, join back later, their progress is captured. In version 1, they would have to start over from the beginning because we never captured the results anywhere until they completed their certification. So this is just a much easier end user experience now. We've also added a dynamic complete button that only becomes available once they've responded to each asset on their list, making it clear when the self-certification is still in progress and when it's ready to be completed. Like once they click the completed button, they also receive a little pop-up window that says, hey, you're done, close the window. Whereas in the past, we had customers that were like, I'm confused, am I done? It didn't really tell me anything, so we fixed that in version 2. We also have a new process that will auto-complete the audit once everyone has completed their certification. So there's no need for an asset manager to go in and manually complete or monitor it or babysit it anymore. It's just going to all happen in the background dynamically. And when it's done, the asset managers will get a notification that it's been completed. So it's less hands-on, less micromanaging of the process. It just runs in the background and works. The next big improvement that we made was we've now associated your end users with the audit instance. Now, the significant pieces of that are, like in version 1, you had to determine who hadn't completed their self-certification because they weren't tied together. It was time consuming, but it was information you had to have if you wanted to know how it was progressing from an end user perspective. But you also had to collect their email addresses and manually send out reminders through email. So it was a lot of manual work. Like David Duncan, if he's here, he can feel that pain. Our partners from Cascade know exactly what I'm talking about when we did a self-certification version 1 together. So we fixed a lot of that stuff. In version 2, with that end user association tied directly to the audit instance, we now have automated initial emails and automated reminder emails that go out based on who's completed their audit and who hasn't, but I'll show you that in a little bit. And then the last improvement is that we enhanced the dashboard reports to better identify real-time progress and the results. So it's fun. I'm excited. I can't wait to show you guys. I have a naughty list now for all the people that haven't completed their self-certification yet. So yeah. So with that being said, let's start there. I just wanted to give you a little background because I'm not starting an audit from the beginning and progressing through the whole thing. I'm going to show you what the end user experience is and how the data is dynamically being updated in the system. And that's what we're going to focus on today. So let me click on my little share here. There we go. Okay. So, like I said, AssetTrack dashboard, we've made updates to the self-certification reporting. This is one that you're seeing in progress. So I've already got 80% of the assets have been identified and 92.52% of the people have already responded and completed their self-certification audit. In these little widgets here, we've got how many assets are being returned or can be returned, and what's the value on those assets, like Michelle was talking about earlier, impacting the carbon footprint and making sure that we're not purchasing new all the time. We're getting assets back that still have warranty that aren't ready for refresh and they can be redeployed as opposed to buying new all the time. It's showing you which assets are missing because somebody told me that they didn't have it, but ServiceNow thinks they do. And then this is just the number of people that are overdue and haven't responded to their self-certification yet. So it just gives you a quick visualization of where you're at in the process. And then, like I said, I was excited to show you, here's the naughty list. So I've got these 8 people that haven't done their responses yet. If you're down to 8 people and you just want to take some time to reach out to them and say, hey, can you do this, get it done? It'll have the list here, and it'll decrement as these people complete real time. The demo I'm going to do for you today is Ron. So we're going to show Ron submit his self-certification, and then he'll be removed from this list. This list will increment to 100 people have responded, 7 won't have, and then all the other stuff will change. We're going to see in the audit instance that once Ron answers a question about 2 assets that are assigned to him, his data will show up here real time. You'll see his name scanned by it. Well, it's not really scanned by, it's basically answered by, but it's part of our advanced audit solution, so we didn't really change the words there. It'll tell you the results. And then the last thing that we'll look at is I'll show you his assets on the hardware table, and you'll see that once he completes his self-certification audit, the assets will be updated real time in the system. So with that being said, let's get into Ron's demo. So this is Ron. This is a simulation of the email that gets sent out to the end users. They'll all get it if they're a part of that audit. This one, we customize these for everyone, so we left it super generic in here intentionally. We want the subject to be something that resonates with each of you and your customers. We didn't need anything fancy in the out-of-box solution because we change it 100% of the time. And the same goes with the bot. Like when you're sending out an email to your end user community, you're going to want your exact solution to be identified here. There's so many different ways we can do it. Sometimes we put the instructions right in the body of the email, tell them exactly what they need to do. Then once they've read that, they can click on that open self-certification form link. Sometimes we change the name of the self-certification. You want something else that resonates with your customers or something you've done in the past. And there's other things we can do where we send out the email with a simple link to a portal page. So what you could do is you can set up your own portal page. We've got the ability to add our AssetTrack piece right into that portal page. You could put the instructions, you could put videos on what they need to do. You could put a link just to open the AssetTrack form if you want, or you can have them answer the questions right there in that portal page. It's whatever our customers want to do. We'll assist you with that and make sure you get the solution that is best for your end user community. In this example today, I'm just going to click on the open self-certification form link, and it's going to open right into Ron's self-certification. So Ron has 2 assets that need to be certified. I'm going to go ahead and do those both. It's very, very simple, lightweight for your end user community. My first answer is going to be, I don't have the asset, right? And these questions can be as simple or as dynamic and complex as you want them to be. Whatever you think your end users can handle, we can handle it ourselves. So we do so many things with these questions. We'll automate so many pieces of this. If I don't have the asset and I click on this and I submit my results, it can create a task for your asset management team to go search for a missing asset. If they say that I have it, but I don't need it, and he's working from home, we can automatically create a task that that somebody can ship him a shipping label and have him ship the laptop back into the office. Or if he's in the building, assign it to the help desk and have them walk over and pick it up. Or you can have a question in here that says, I have this asset, but it's broken. And we can automatically generate an incident and meet your rules of requirement. We script it all in the background because it's a piece of broken hardware. It's always going to be the same population of your incident record. So we can simply create an incident that says, this person has a broken laptop. Work on it, get it fixed, get it back, replace it, whatever needs to be done. We can do it. In the past, it was more like, I have a broken asset. Well, here's a link to the portal page that'll allow you to submit a request, an incident or a ticket or something like that. We can do all that stuff in the background now. Okay, sorry I talked too much about that, but let's move on. Self-certification, Ron is going to tell you that he does not have this asset, and he's going to give you a note. I never had this asset. and done. And then on the next one, we're going to answer with, I have it, but I don't need it. Because I have it is boring. That's what most of your answers are going to be. I have it. There's really nothing else that we need to do. He's happy with it. We're good. There's no other steps that need to be taken. Have it, but don't need it. Oops. I haven't used it once. We're going to say done. And that's it. He just has to answer the questions. And then the checkbox up here is available. Turns it green when it's good. It leaves it white when it's bad. This is all like the good noises, the happy noises that Jennifer was talking about earlier versus the bad noises. The good stuff is green. The stuff that's not good doesn't turn green, but it doesn't matter to the end user as much in this scenario. So I'm going to click on the complete. It's asking me if I'm done. I'm done. My audit is complete. I can close the window. So now it gives them a notification, says, hey, you're done. Good job. No worries. So I can close the window. And now I'm done with Ron. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back into ServiceNow and we're going to see all the changes that we just made with Ron's self-certification completion. So I'm going to refresh my reports. It's going to update all my stuff. So now we're up to 100 people have completed their audit. 7 people are left to go. 7 people are left to go. Ron is no longer on the naughty list. We're down to 7 people now. We have a new returnable asset, so it increments how much money you're going to save if you redeploy these assets on this dashboard report. Missing one up by 1, and that's all the stuff that needed to be updated here on the self-certification form. Like I said, we would come in and we would look at the audit instance. If I refresh the audit instance, now we've got Ron's 2 answers to his questions. I have it, but I don't need it. I haven't used it in months. Don't have the asset. I've never seen this asset before. And then one thing I didn't show you is we can come in here too, and we can look at Ron. And we can see that Ron done is true. And this is how we automate the email process for the reminder emails. Anybody that says done false is going to get a reminder email. If you schedule it every 7 days through eternity, then every week when the date hits 7 days, they're going to get a second reminder if it says done false. Once it says done true, the system knows to not send them a reminder email anymore. They're done. So that's how we've automated that piece. And then the last thing I said we would look at is his hardware assets. It's updated everything, right? This one's still in use because he has it, but he doesn't need it. Until somebody goes and gets that from him, it's going to be assigned to him. But the one that he says he doesn't have, never had it before, it switched from a state of in use to missing and lost. So all that stuff is just happening in the background, and you can imagine how quickly this is going to be updated if you're sending it out to thousands of people. And you guys might have questions about self-certification V2. If you do, we will get to those in the Q&A later. Michelle already told you that, but I'm just reiterating. The next thing I want to show you guys is some of the other reporting enhancements that we've made on our dashboard that are going to be coming out in 2025. We already talked self-cert. Let's look at the hardware refresh reporting. So Michelle had mentioned when she was talking earlier, from a marketing perspective, what's important to you guys. Me with my boots on the ground, working with you guys every day, I understand how important it is to have a locked down refresh process. And we've been implementing that quite frequently over the past couple of months. So I wanted to put something out of box in our system that is going to provide instant value for our customers. The first one here is the hardware refresh forecast. So what we did was we automated the creation of the hardware refresh date based on when the asset is received. So if your and I did this for a couple of customers that are on this call, so I hope it's working out well for you. I think it will be. The first thing it's going to do is it's going to populate that refresh date. And then we built reports that show you by year what assets need to be replaced or refreshed each year. And this can be as simple as just populating that field with a flat 4 years every time after a refresh, or it can be by model. You can say that if it's server class, I want the refresh date to be 5 years. If it's computer class, I want it to be 3 years. If it's a monitor, I want it to be. We can dynamically make those changes automated in the background so that your refresh date is as specific to a hardware model as you want it to be, or it could be generic. It's always going to be a 5-year process, right? It's whatever you need. But then what it does is it builds your forecast for you, and you can break it down, and I can look and see, okay, I have 215 assets that need to be replaced next year, but how much is that going to cost me? So we've got a cost breakdown that parallels that refresh forecast that shows you for 2025, when come August or September of 24, when it's time to build your 25 budget, you open this dashboard and you take a look at it, and it's going to give you what your number is. This is the number that you need to spend next year. You need to put in that budget line item that this is what I need to spend for 25 if we're going to follow our refresh policy. So it's powerful, it's easy, and it's something that I think a lot of customers are going to get some great value out of. The next report that I have is stock dwell times. This one's near and dear to our heart. This is something that we've been doing for a long time. We just never put it into our base product. It's going to be into our base product next year. And it's showing you how long your assets are sitting in a stockroom. Nobody wants their assets sitting in a stockroom too long, but you need them there long enough so that if somebody needs something, it's available. You don't want to be buying new when somebody has a broken laptop and you need to replace it. But you got to find the sweet spot. Right, so this report is showing you how long your assets are depreciating and sitting in a stock room. How long are they there? Right, you want to get this number as low as possible without interrupting service. And this report will provide you with a quick and easy snapshot because it's tracking the time on each and every asset and it's populating it on this report. Then we've just got some in-use stuff. This is telling us where our assets are, where they're in use, what buildings are they in, what departments are using them. This can go for anything you want. I can provide different kinds of reports based on your specific use cases on where you want to see, where are your computers, what's my count of my computers by cost center? How much money do I have associated or invested in each cost center? Like, we can show you all that kind of stuff. And then this is just a stockroom hardware cost breakdown. So it shows you how much money is sitting in your stockrooms. And we've got an interactive filter at the top of the report here that will let you look at the overall value, the overall cost of all your assets by stockroom. And then consumable does the same thing. We've got a new report on here that's going to be a cost breakdown by model. Again, I can choose a specific stockroom if I want to see how much money is sitting in my stockrooms as it relates to consumables or throwaway items versus the actual hardware assets. The next one is just one new report that I wanted to point out. Like, we've always had AssetTrack usage. It shows you the positive results. Who's using AssetTrack? What forms are they using? Where are they located? That's all good. But this year we created a negative report for some of our customers that didn't want to know necessarily who are my good employees that are using it and following the new process. Who are the ones that are not? So this is a negative report that's showing you people. They're basically, I built a naughty list here, right? So I can see by department that I have 2 people in customer support that are supposed to be using AssetTrack but aren't. And then I can open it and say, oh, Caesar and Michelle, come on, you're on the naughty list. Go use AssetTrack. We've given you the process. We've trained you. You're responsible for using it. And this is how you can ultimately get to the point where your customers don't necessarily have to log into ServiceNow anymore. If they have a job where it's only going to be scanning and reviewing assets, you can reduce your footprint in ServiceNow if you get real traction there. And the last tab that I wanted to show you is we've enhanced our health tab, right? We've added more stuff. We've always had this is your assets. These are the things that need to be fixed from a speedometer perspective. No serial number, no asset tag. But now we've got some fun reports that are a little bit different and a little bit next level, like improper computer use. I wasn't quite sure what to call this one, but we've built it for a couple of customers. I think that Mark Stevens from M&T might have mentioned this one last year when he was at the summit meeting. But this is showing me that they have a policy at their organization that says that if somebody's done using an asset, a hardware asset, a computer, they have to ship it back in and get it sanitized and then rebuilt and then redeployed. You can't be handing laptops off to people that work for you. It's against their policy. So we have a report here that says this asset, based on our life cycle history table, we can see that this asset went from in use to in use, and the assigned to person's changed. Or you pull that information in from SCCM, and now the assigned to is changed. And it shows you a report that says they're not following your policy. Go get it back. Click on this and go find out who's doing it. We need to get those assets back. And this is just a breakdown of all the assets that are in missing state and how much money that's costing the organization by having these assets out there but missing. And then this last report here shows you what the value is if I've got assets that are missing and went into a retired state, because after 1 year of being missing, we're not looking for it anymore. We're just retiring it. This will break it down by month, how much money you lost for each month from moving assets from missing to retired. And that can be any flavor of what your policy is. We can build these reports and we can track them in any way that you need to. And then we built some reports that show you if another policy is 1 computer per person. You could use a report like this that shows that Howard here has got 13 laptops assigned to him. Howard doesn't need 13 laptops unless he works in IT and there's a specific reason for him to have them. So you reach out to Howard and say, hey, bring these back. We've built reports just like this one where it only shows you results of 2 or higher. So it filters off all the stuff that's 1-to-1 because we don't want to see those ones. And we've built them for VDIs, we've built them for computers, we've built them for printers. Anything you need it to do, we can build it and put it onto this report here. But it shows when you have duplication of serial numbers and asset tags, just helps you from an asset health perspective, clean up your hardware data. And that is the end of my demonstrations. I tried to go quickly. I'm sorry if I talked too fast. The last thing that I was going to share with you is the 2025 roadmap, which I've pretty much spoiled it all already, but we're going to talk about it quickly. On the roadmap, the first thing is the ITAD automation is going to be enhanced, and the use case that Jennifer explained earlier, thank you so much for that, Jennifer, is something that we're going to build into our out-of-box solution. So you can do IT asset disposition. We're going to have the lot table enhanced. We're going to have the ability for your asset management team to open up a lot table, click on a button and say, generate a lot. It's going to ask you what stockroom you want to generate the lot for. You pick the stockroom, and what it's going to do in the background is it's going to go grab all the assets that are associated to that stockroom that are in pending disposal, populate that lot table, allow your disposal vendors to quote unquote audit all of the results in there. So it just automates all of that stuff. You don't have to do that piece. Yeah, Joey, it sounds familiar. Yeah, that's exactly what we built for Joey. I just described his use case exactly. But then like Jennifer was saying, the exception reconciliation is much simpler this way. And then the last thing that didn't get brought up is another thing we do is we upload the certificate of sanitizations and the certificate of destructions back into that lot table. So you're not keeping those certificates in like a Teams folder somewhere. So if you get audited, you upload the certificates right to the lot table and it references it, and you can see it from every single asset that was destroyed within that lot. So it makes auditing simple from a disposition perspective. The next thing that we're going to build out of box, and I think this is maybe the only thing that wasn't talked about thus far, is we're going to put, thanks, Joey. That's awesome. The palleting process. This has become really popular over the past year. We've been doing it a lot for customers. What we're doing is we're creating a pallet process that allows you to mass move assets that have been palletized, whether it's preparing for your ITAD solution or it's bulk moving assets from one stockroom to another. Like if you receive them all in a centralized warehouse, but they need to be shipped out to different places. What you do is you create a pallet, you scan the 50 laptops that are going on that pallet, and then you've associated them to that parent pallet record in ServiceNow. And now to move them, you scan the pallet and all 50 assets become in transit. You scan them when they arrive to the new stockroom and you upload it and they all become in stock. And then you have the ability at that point to start depalletizing them until that pallet has been completely emptied. And then you either reuse the pallet or you retire the pallet and you start the process with another one. And then the last thing is exactly what we had talked about earlier. It's the refresh. I showed you the reporting. Michelle had mentioned refresh management herself. What this is talking about is helping you manage your refresh process. I know it's time consuming. It's difficult to manage if you're trying to use SCCM data and compare it to what you have in ServiceNow. So we're trying to automate that we are automating that for our customers. And this is going to be something that will be available to you guys next year out of box. We're going to automatically take your receive date, populate the refresh date, and provide the reporting that shows you what the forecast is and shows you what the budget is for whatever your refresh process is. And that is the end of my presentation. So I will hand it off to Tom. Thanks, Joey. Joey, man, my biggest fan out there. You need to talk next year. Yeah, I want to hand it off to Tom Watson, our founder and CEO. Oh, there you go. Go ahead, Tom. Take it away.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Jeff. I'm going to do the spotlight thing for myself. Tremendous job, Jeff and Michelle. And thanks to the speakers that came on first. I obviously been here for a long time. I know, Roger, you've been with us for like 15 years. We go way back, and he's telling you all the success stories now, but there's a long, track records of bumps and bruises and things you could probably learn from Roger if you bought him a beer. And I'm sure he'd be happy to tell you some of those war stories. I know it's recognized some other people on the call here, cracking wise jokes, my man Jeff on there and others. So anyway, thanks everybody for being here. And again, particular thanks to Jeff because of what Jeff brings to the table here, what he epitomizes what AMI is, which is a passion for helping customers with problems. It just happens to be this hardware asset management expertise that we have. And I make these jokes about, how I never wanted to be a hardware asset manager as a kid. How did I end up doing this kind of thing? But I love software. I love complex problems. And it's people like Jeff and the team that bring these cool tools into your environment and get them not just integrated, but delivering a solution to a problem. And that the reaction that we're getting from you folks who obviously experience this pain and have had it addressed, at least alleviated somewhat by us, just gives me a lot of joy. And so thank you for that. To my team, really. What I'm here to talk about is a bit of the future. Michelle's driving the slides. I was just trying to click Michelle, but I'm not the guy. So next slide. AMI we've been doing this for 22 years or so. And we've been known as the leading hardware asset management solution provider. Most recently for ServiceNow. You look back farther, it was HP, before that CA. We have a legacy server application that runs standalone, but we've really carved ourselves out as the preeminent hardware asset management solution available, and specifically targeting the ServiceNow space. And what I mean by that is what Jeff was talking about just now, the solutions to true hardware asset management problems that we've solved with technology and process, like our advanced audit system to enable like enterprise-wide coordination and execution of audits, the self-certification, this ITSM integration, ITAD integration, the palletization. My favorite thing that Jeff blew through, but we could talk for a long time about, which are clocks, and that one expression of clocks, which is that stock dwell time report. That's the kind of example of moving beyond just tracking where things are and where they've been, but analyzing that data to get insights into how well your asset management process is working. That sounds geeky, but like tracking how long your stuff is sitting around in stock collecting dust, it's really easy to map that to specific money that you can save. And just we have all that kind of data, and being able to tie those solutions together is why we've been the leading hardware asset management provider for all of these different platforms, including ServiceNow. So now, Michelle, the future for us, as you clicking, is back up one slide. back up the other way, is we are now the preeminent hardware asset management solution for all. And what that means is we're going beyond just the ServiceNow space. So what I'm here to introduce, Click, is the AMI Tracks platform, which is going to enable us to bring these applications outside of the ServiceNow ecosystem to customers that may or may not have a platform or may be considering switching a platform. So what is the AMI Tracks platform? It's an enterprise-grade application development platform at a mid-market price. And what I mean by enterprise-grade applications is the powerful development tools that are needed to build extensible data models, flexible user interfaces, a protected scripting environment, enabling us to do a lot more stuff than you can do with an AssetTrack form today. We get a lot of requests for, customized behavior of how the UI is going to work with messaging and pop-ups and movement and hiding and changing things on the forms. We've got the other development tools needed is like reporting and dashboarding, notifications. I made some notes for myself so I could remember, but all of the application development platform tools that are needed to build rich B2B applications. But that's only kind of the icing on the cake. Underneath, what enterprises need to really pass what we believe is that there's kind of three levels of applications or platforms out there, tools out there. There are the enterprise applications, the ServiceNows, the Salesforces, that have that full flexibility, security, scalability, but also come with a huge price tag that's only getting bigger. And then you got your $29 a month, per user point SaaS application that's good at doing, a specific thing. It has some extensibility, but it's really made for one purpose. That leaves this middle section where we've got companies that need real flexibility, real security, real scalability, but don't feel it's reasonable to pay the type of prices that they've been paying. That enterprise grade applications need more than just the ability to build applications. They need robust information security compliance. And that the AMI Tracks platform is built from the ground up to have that, which is full table, field, row level, role-based access controls, immutable audit trails, history, configurable data retention policies, the things that are underneath that your InfoSec teams are going to need to truly be called enterprise. The scalability to support millions of rows, the mobile application development platform so that we can bring all that cool barcode and RFID stuff that we've been doing for ServiceNow customers to customers that don't have ServiceNow. API development, so you can configure your integrations with other point of business systems. That's what's going to enable us to take AssetTrack and bring it into other ecosystems. It's a Microsoft Azure stack developed platform, which gives us flexibility for deployment, meaning we can host it as a SaaS application for you. We could deploy it to your Microsoft Azure private cloud. We could even deploy it on-prem if necessary. So all those things together is what we're most excited about. That is that what you really need as hardware asset managers is the solutions that Jeff was showing you, or at least the pieces that Jeff was showing you. Now we're going to be able to bring that and bring the platform underneath it with you, bring the platform with it. So what that means is click, Michelle. A roadmap here. So we are continuing to plow forward in the ServiceNow and AssetTrack for ServiceNow space. And Jeff was just leading the charge on where we're going and what new capabilities we're going to be bringing to ServiceNow customers. This next year, we're launching the AMI Tracks platform, and we're going to start to roll out new applications. And the first one is AssetTrack. So all of the capabilities that we provide for hardware asset managers in the ServiceNow ecosystem, we're now going to be able to provide as a standalone application with their own platform, with our own platform. In the next coming years, we're going to expand into the ITIL suite as well, calling it ServiceTrack. AnyTrack is just an example name just to kind of indicate that we're going to be rolling out other types of applications. Any interest in working with Freshservice? Absolutely, Jack. I know you got a role. Talk to us about that. There's other platforms out there, especially in that mid-market. We've got plenty of customers that have, opted to move off of their incumbent system for cost reasons or complexity reasons and are looking at other tools. We'll talk to you more about that later. Thanks for coming, Jack. But let's move. But just a couple more teasers, and then we're going to get onto the Q&A. We're going to be releasing this software here pretty soon in 2025. So you'll be able to see more information, demos, and trials in the coming year. But just a couple of quick slides. Next slide here. The solution is coming along. This is not just a Figma mock-up. This is an actual capture of AssetTrack built on the AMI-Trax platform, where we're bringing asset management, the advanced auditing, the clocks. We're fleshing out a catalog system and being able to extend and do something that we can't do in the ServiceNow space currently. With our mobile application to support the full awesome barcode scanning and RFID capabilities that we have today. And the next slide here is just an example of what the power of the AMI-Trax platform is we can build other types of apps besides just AssetTrack. This just happens to be an example of a travel itinerary luggage tracking system that we've been contracted to do. And because of the flexibility of the platform, we were able to take our AssetTrack expertise, which is why we started talking to this client. Hey, you guys are experts at scanning and tracking things through workflows and, reconciling discrepancies, making sure that stuff that's supposed to be here shows up. And if not, creating reports and tasks so we can go follow up and find those things. Well, can you guys track baggage on planes? Well, yeah, of course. With the AMI-Trax platform, we can extend our data model to support the concept of trips and trip legs, to convert assets into luggage and asset tags into luggage tags, and to provide that same type of the same type of experience of creating audits and providing mobile scanning forms to track assets. We're able to tailor that very easily, in this case, to track luggage. We didn't go into this market to create a travel luggage system, but the point is that the platform is so robust and so flexible that we're able to create new applications and new derivations or derivatives of AssetTrack, I should say. And the cool part about that is that when we deliver AssetTrack for you on the AMI-Trax platform, you're going to have all those same capabilities yourself. So you'll be able to extend the data model to customize new forms and create your own scripting to create and customize the behavior of the application to be able to tie it in to your business and customize it and tailor it the way that you need. Now, of course, you've probably had platforms like that before, and you can totally get yourself in trouble when you start trying to do all kinds of customizations, and then 5 years down the road, you're going to go, crap, I wish I could just get back in the box. And we're aware of that. So the way that we're going to roll this out to market is not to be giving you the platform and telling you to go to town. We're going to build the AssetTrack product ourselves. We're going to deliver it to you, and Jeff and the delivery team are going to get it integrated the right way. And we're going to provide all the expertise to ensure that you're staying on track and you're not, painting yourself into corners with the platform. Over the coming years, we start rolling out more products. We get partners starting to roll out products. At some point down the future, we'll roll this platform out and let people just go to town building all kinds of stuff that we can't even imagine. But we're not going crazy right away. We're gonna be the guides, the Sherpas that we've always been for you as we roll this out to make sure that you're successful. But we've just got a whole new set of tools in our tool bag to do stuff that we've been limited in what we've been able to do before. And we're really excited to be able to offer this to everyone. So anyway, that's my spiel. More is going to be coming out on our website and through marketing and over the coming months. So things are really heating up. We've been working on this for a while, and we're really excited to release it here soon. So any questions, let us know in the chat. And of course, you know how to reach us and know how to reach me. So let me know. Last poll before we wrap up. What new features would you most like to see available in 2025?
Thank you so much, Tom. Great insight into what's coming up in our near and potentially more distant future. With this poll question, keep in mind, we're giving you some canned answers, but we like nothing more than for you guys to keep in communication with us, whether it's the implementation team or more importantly, your account managers are always available. Courtney and I are always reachable. And our app is what it is, and it's enhanced over time because of all of you. You guys are the boots on the ground. You're the ones telling us, this is great, but I need more. This is great, but it'd be great if it did this too. So we know we gave you a limited number of choices here, but we want you to keep that. We want to be real partners and long-term partners and make sure that you guys are reaching out to us and telling us what it is that you want to see so that we can, understand, vet things out and prioritize things accordingly based on the needs of our customers. So we really do appreciate when you guys come to us with ideas and thoughts. All right, so just wanted to finalize by saying thank you again to everyone. Please stay for Q&A if you can. But appreciate the speakers, Jeff for the demos, Tom for your insight into the future, and Courtney, I know you're the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain there, really making sure things are going smoothly for us today. So thank you so much as well. And all of you for joining today. So with that, let's see, where do we end up in our last poll here? Okay, looks like, okay, most interested in the AMI Tracks platform. That's cool, good to see. All right, so we're gonna open it up to Q&A. We do have one question to start, but if we could ask you, you can do it in the chat if you want, but if you want, we were hoping that people would use the Q&A button at the top. Either way, let us know what your questions are. The first question came from Bindu. Hi, Bindu, long time no talk. And you said, what if a user has an asset that's not listed in the audit list for them, but they want to report that they have it and potentially send it back? Jeff, what would they do in that scenario?
Yeah, that's a good question, Bindu, and I'm disappointed in myself for not having brought it up during the demo. I was focusing more on the new stuff. That's something that the self-certification audit's always been able to do. So if there's an asset I have sitting on my desk that doesn't show up on my list because ServiceNow doesn't recognize that it's assigned to me, it's as simple as this. I'm going to show you real fast because I'm a shower. Look at this. I have an asset here that's sitting on my desk that's not on my list of self-certification assets. When I click on it, it adds it to my list. And it's the same thing. I have to answer a question about it, right? And then if it's something that's new, that doesn't exist in ServiceNow, then it comes in as a red card. And now I have to tell you what the model and the self-certification is. So we cover all three scenarios, whether it's assigned to me, it's in ServiceNow and it's not assigned to me, or if it's not in ServiceNow. And what we typically do for customers when it's not assigned to me or when it's not in ServiceNow is we send it to an approval queue. So we're not creating assets based on customer responses. We're allowing the asset managers to review those responses and make sure that these are valid. They didn't provide us with the wrong information about an asset that's already assigned to them, so on and so forth. So we have all kinds of different options. Some people don't even want anything to do with new assets from their end user community. They don't let them do it at all. So it just depends on what the customers need. Hope that helped.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Jeff. We have another question from Ryan here that says, Today, does AssetTrack support the ServiceNow CSDM lifecycle stage and status fields as opposed to the legacy state and sub-state fields? If not, are there plans to do so, and what's the time frame?
No, we can do it. We've customized it a couple of times. We're doing an implementation right now with the new states and sub-states. It's fine. It's not how we have it set up out of box, but it's as simple as just adding the new new state status and sub-status stuff to our entity and building the same exact asset track capabilities off of those. It's not a problem. It doesn't take any time at all to transition over to the new process.
Okay. Cool. Awesome, Jeff. So I don't see any other questions yet. Come on, guys. Don't be shy. We know you guys. Another thing I would say is if you don't have a question, but are willing to and want to share an experience that you've had with AssetTrack with the group, just drop in a chat and we can unmute your mic and be happy for you, to allow you to share that just as another option. Anybody? Come on. I know you guys aren't shy. Talk to you guys.
Michelle, we have another question from Jeff Marone.
Oh, good.
Oh.
Where is it? I can't see it.
In the Q&A.
It is in the Q&A. Jeff, how could I miss you? Where are you? New post. Okay, I see it. Any plans to manage both assets and consumables within a single form? Oh, I know the answer, but Jeff, I want you to go ahead and share this.
Yes, that is actually the next thing in our roadmap, Jeff. Thank you for bringing that up. We are in the process of building a new entity within the AssetTrack application that's talking to the asset table and not the children hardware and consumable tables. So that is something that should be coming in first quarter next year.
Awesome, Jeff. Thank you. Let's see.
And I answered Bindu's question in the chat. You asked if it's a customization to handle what we would call a new asset or an unexpected asset. No, it's something that you can configure how you want the results to be handled right in the audit definition. So you just pick it. Like if you want it to go to the approval table, you tell it in the audit you tell it in the audit definition that you want to send unexpecteds and new assets over to the approval table, but I want the ones that they find and they're supposed to find to just get processed and updated by themselves. So yeah, it's simplified. There's no customization. It's simple configuration on your audit definition side.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. Courtney, can we unmute Mark Stevens? He has something that he'd like to share.
Absolutely. Give me a minute to find him in the long list.
Sure.
All right, it's all you, Mark. Oh, wait.
Okay. Yep. Can you hear
good?
me now?
Okay, good.
Okay.
Yep.
So Jeff, you talked about with give me 1 second. Give my note for audits with like how if the CI was wiped. So do you guys like do some integration with Intune with that, or how does that? Can I get a little bit more just insight on that part of it?
Give me that use case again. What did you say exactly?
You were talking something about you had some reports on if the CI was wiped for it. So some companies will use Intune to go out on to wipe devices. I didn't know if you had any integration with Intune at all to actually find out if that wipe was successful or not.
Oh, I see what you mean. No, I don't have anything like that today where you would document that step.
Mm-hmm.
Now, but that's a really interesting point. Let me take that down as something to look into for you, Mark. Because
okay. I appreciate that. Huh?
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. And again, it's always been a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And Courtney, it looks like we have David Paul who also might want to say a word.
Yeah. All right, David. You can unmute yourself now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sure can.
Okay. I didn't really want to say a word, but I must be really bad because I cannot do Q&A or chat. won't let me do it either. So I was trying to figure out how I could. I sent you an email, actually, Michelle.
Oh, okay.
Anyhow, my question was, have you ever thought about, and Michelle's heard this question from me before, have you ever thought about diving into SAM at all?
I have many times, actually. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm chomping at the bit. I was a software asset management manager at a couple of companies previous to here, and I can't wait for us to delve into that. It'll probably be in our platform first, followed by what we can do in ServiceNow. AMI tracks first, I think.
Yeah, well, we have it, right? Yeah, we have AMI tracks.
AssetTrack.
So, or I'm sorry, AssetTrack. I see what the difference is. Never mind. I get so confused with it all. Too many names. Yeah, if you want beta testers or whatever, we have been threatening to build our own for years, because every time I go back to ServiceNow, and I've been using ServiceNow since March of 2015. We as of last year, when we last renewed, the price was still ridiculous. Something that I just couldn't, like, I was just like, you guys keep telling me you'll work with us, and then you come back with these numbers that I can't find that much money to save to prove an ROI. But so it would be great, because we love what we have with AssetTrack. We want to use it more. So anyhow, if you ever do SAM, we'd be excited.
Yeah, we want to cross that bridge. We just have to be. We know that there's extra stuff that we need to solve for. So yeah, but it's definitely on the list.
Good.
David, thank you. I'm so sorry I put you on the spot. I saw your hand up, so I thought you wanted to talk. Sorry about that.
No, I had no choice because I was.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that too. I
okay.
don't love that, because something doesn't sound right there. But all right, thank you. All right, Grant. Questions about palletizing or palletized shipping. Do you see that, Jeff? Will this be using the existing parent field in the asset records? What will be the class model category of the pallet? And I know ServiceNow has a pallet asset, but I believe it's only included in their Hardware Asset Management Pro, their HAM Pro plugin.
Yep. Well, yeah, that's really good feedback. It's available in Enterprise Asset Management and HAM Pro, right? The two different things you have to pay for separately. What we did is exactly what you just said. What I did is I create a pallet model that doesn't generate a CI, so it's only going to be on your hardware table. Make it a parent-child relationship between the pallet asset that's on your hardware table and the child assets that are on the pallet. So yeah, you pretty much understood what we were trying to do there, and it was just a matter of creating a new model on the hardware table that was available, and absolutely does not create configuration items, because that would be ridiculous, right? We wouldn't want that. So good question.
Yeah. Thank you, Grant. Thank you, Jeff. All right, been to another question. Is there a way to link catalog tasks to enforce using AssetTrack to ship assets or update asset status? Currently, we are relying on resources to manually go into AssetTrack and check in and check out.
So I'm trying to understand the workflow you just described there, Bindu, but what we do, and we just built this, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say this new customer's name, so I won't, but we just built an extremely comprehensive workflow that is talking to, it was the most complex implementation that I've seen yet, and we go live on Friday with this solution for a customer. And what we've done is at every step of the process where it's physically being touched, an asset's physically being touched and progressed through the workflow of ordering and receiving and staging and deploying all that stuff, there's a workflow that they have on the task side. There's rhythms that we have to talk to. So we're updating the rhythms every step of the way as they're physically doing the next step with that laptop. So I'm not sure if I answered your question right, but that's what we do. We make sure that the end users as of Friday afternoon will no longer have to go in, do their work on their laptops, and then go update their rhythms. Those will all happen in the background by themselves. They'll get closed. The customer will get updated and notified at every step. So there's no need for the end users to log into ServiceNow as they're building out new laptops. It's all tied dynamically to the task process.
Cool. Jeff, thank you so much. We have another question from Jeff, our friend Jeff at the place that is in the sky. I don't know if I'm supposed to say or not, but
I think his email's there. It's too late.
Oh, okay. Jeff from United. Okay, cool. I'm just trying to be sensitive. All right. Do you have experience or insight? This is a question that I think a lot of our customers have. So this is a good one too. Do you have experience or insight with dual processes in a single transaction? For example, I want to return to stock and install an asset in one step and not have to open or use two separate forms.
Say those two again. Return to stock and what?
Just it's basically this. It's not specific to this, but this is just an example. Return to stock and install. It's the idea that why do I have to use unique forms for each process step rather than being able to build forms that do multiple things? There's reasons behind it, right? So
yeah, I mean, it depends on what you're looking for, Jeff. If you're trying to hit a step in the life cycle history of an asset, like we have our life cycle history table that tracks every change to a state. If you want the form to bypass the state, then I mean we can script it to where it says it went from this state to this state, and they can use one form to progress through both of those. But if you need to update 3 tasks with one upload of a form and get an asset into an in-stock state, then we can absolutely do that. We can work through, like, one of the things that we did multiple times last year was transfer orders. Well, this year actually, with the transfer order workflow was so convoluted and complex that we auto scripted it to skip like 5 of the 7 steps when they scan and upload with the AssetTrack application. So we can do those types of things. We just need to make sure that we're scripting it into that form so that we can take care of multiple things. But it's definitely doable today.
Yeah, and just want to make sure that everyone's aware. And just to piggyback off of that, Jeff, it's the answer usually is not that we can't do it. It's should we do it? Is it the right thing for us to do for you? Are we causing a gap later? Is there a validation or a requirement that we're going to miss, because we're doing 2 things at once? Not that we can't, but just wanted to throw that out there. We try really, really hard to, and I know Jeff, it's your team that tries really, really hard to consult people and to going down the right fork in the road, right? We can do pretty much anything, but should we do those things? And we are very vocal about things that could cause you grief later on or gaps in your process. So just wanted to add that to what you said, Jeff. Okay.
But yeah, Jeff, I know you and Isaac are awesome. You guys are really good AssetTrack users. You know your stuff. And we've taken some pretty significant strides in the way that we're updating things on the back end over the past year. Jason on my team has become an absolute expert at this kind of stuff. So if you do want to spend some time to talk about what you're trying to do, we'd absolutely make that time for you and help you in any way we could.
All right. We still have a little bit of time left. I don't see anything else in chat or Q&A yet. So while we wait, just to make sure nobody has any further questions or has any other comments, which, by the way, if you do, absolutely, that's fantastic. I should probably be scrolling through these pages to make sure nobody else has their hand up or has any other things they want to share. But just I'm going to kind of get to this. Oops, I'm not sharing anymore. How'd that happen? Hold on 1 second. Just wanted to reiterate to everybody that here's the account manager contacts. It's Courtney and I right now. And want you to know that if you're interested or need anything, again, our goal is to be really good partners for you guys. It's to have a good pulse on where you're at and what your needs are. And if any of the things that we talked about today interest you, or you want to look into how can you put this enhancement into your implementation of AssetTrack, please don't be shy. Reach out to us. Even if you want to reach out to us now and say, hey, I really don't have the time to talk about it right now, but reach back out to me in April, then we'll put reminders for ourselves to reach back out when you want us to. So just keep that in mind, that you can always reach out to us, and we will facilitate any kind of questions, requests, enhancements, and things like that that you guys are interested in. Let's see. Awesome. All right. Well, it doesn't look like we have any other questions or anything else in chat. Courtney, is that correct? Am I seeing that correctly?
Nope, nothing pending.
Okay, well, we're pretty much at time. Thank you guys all. Thank you again, presenters, Courtney, Jeff, Tom, everybody. Thank you so much for your time today. We know how busy you are. An hour and a half is a lot of time for you guys to invest in us and to listen to what we have to say. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day.